Alright all, and welcome back to a new video and the second preview video of this weekend, looking ahead to Sunday's action at Thurles. Going back on this, on today's action, it is currently 4:30 on Saturday, so all the racing's finished, and basically a very disappointing day on the YouTube selection, so I'm very sorry about that. They've been a bit hot and cold the last few Saturdays. January in general has been a bit hot and cold, just about up on the week, or up on the month at this moment in time, but not by much. If you were over on Twitter, you would have gotten one winner with brewing up a storm over at Taunton. I added a couple in because the Navan races were called off. But look, it wasn't a great one, but these things happen, and hopefully we can have a bit more luck tomorrow at Thurles. Looks to be a decent card. Hopefully it gets the go-ahead. It's got an early morning inspection. I really hope it does pass that, otherwise this video will be null and void. But still decided to do it. Obviously some good racing, some good horses on show. The likes of Culreevy, Allaho, Battle over Doyen. Awful lot of very good horses running for a Sunday card at Thurles. So moving into it, starting off with the 1:30 at Thurles, the Mare's Novice Chase. Culreevy looks to take an awful lot of the beating in this. I'm not going to get away from it. She's odds on money. I wouldn't put anyone off her. If you wanted to back her at odds on, go ahead and do so. But not something I'm particularly keen on putting up odds on shots. And I thought there was one in here that was just overpriced from an each-way play. And that's Scarlet and Dove for Joseph O'Brien and Donna Myler. She's in here at 10-1. Now, she did finish second to two horses that are ahead of her in the market in Yukon Lil and Mount Ida in her first two chase starts before winning down at Limerick over Christmas, beating a mare of Gordon Elliott's called Larkaboos by 8.5 lengths. That was a pretty decent performance, jumped impeccably, and the step up to 2.5 miles really seemed to suit. I'm just not so sure the step up to 2.5 miles is as convenient for Yukon Lil and for Mount Ida, but both on soft ground as well. I just think that over 2.5 miles, Scarlet and Dove might have a chance of reversing some of that form. And if she does so, she's surely going to be in the mix here in the first three. Culreevy takes an awful lot of beating, but she's carrying a mare's penalty. She's odds on. I'd be willing just to not back her at that price. I'd be willing to let her win at odds on without getting involved myself. And I think Scarlet and Dove's a fair chance each way at 10-1 in filling the frame. Moving on to the 2 o'clock, the big race on the day, the 2.5 mile Grade 2 race. And look, I've backed Allaho anti-post for the Ryanair. You'll know I've been on about him a couple of times now on the channel. I backed him over Christmas where he was okay, ran grand in the Savills Chase when he was fourth. Look, he has to win on Sunday. There's no getting away from that. He just has to go and win, I think. He is 11-10. It's short. It's the shortest price I'm putting up today. But, geez, if Allaho gets beat tomorrow, I can really be tossing that Ryanair ticket in the bin. Moving on to the 2:30, a competitive handicap chase over 2 mile 5. And I'm going to take a chance on one who's not the most trustworthy of sorts, and it's Ministerforsport. Trained by Noel O'Neill. Philip Enright takes the right. He's 12-1, best price at the moment. I think that's not a bad each-way play. 4 places available with the majority of bookies for this race as well. Look, on his peak form, he'd have every chance in this race off a mark of 129, finishing second in a Grade 3 last year behind Royal Rendezvous, and Gallant John Joe was back in third in a very tight finish at Naas. Then he was second to Home by the Lee at Limerick, and he was second to Ascaria 10 at Thurles over 3 miles earlier this year. He does throw in a few stinkers alongside that, though. There's a few P's to the name. Last time out he was fourth behind Forza Milan in that race that Anti fell in, that I thought was going to come and win a beginner's chase there. So it's one of those, he is a bit hot and cold. He does seem to run well sometimes, doesn't run well sometimes. But if he's on a going day, I think he's well capable of being in the finish here off 129. And hopefully he will be on one of those days and can go ahead and get the job done. Moving on to the 3 o'clock, a very competitive 2 mile 7 hurdle, novice hurdle. I was really quite hoping I'd see Statler in this race. The race won by Monkfish last year. Gentleman's Game is your favourite for Mouse Morris and Robbie Parr. Wouldn't be for me, I must say, at 6-4. I know he was quite impressive on his debut at Cork over 2 miles, but you have to realise Jumi, I think his name is, of Willie Mullins's, or her name is, pardon me, is just an absolute Looney Tune of a horse. I don't think they rate her too much either in terms of their top novices, and she blew out completely. He ended up beating Mahan's Glory, who runs on the bumper on today's card. who's a pretty exposed bumper horse at that for the Hogan team. So I'm not sure about the real value of that win. Stepping up 7 furlongs in trip. Mouse has previously had horses beaten in this race that have looked pretty good. He got Last Man Standing, went for this race 2 or 3 years ago, it must have been now. Or did he? I'm not so sure about Last Man Standing actually, but it's just one of those ones. I wouldn't be taking 6-4 personally speaking. I certainly don't think this horse is actually going to run at Cheltenham. I know some people think he might have a chance in the Albert Bartlett. I don't think, given the way Mouse Morris usually handles his younger horses, his younger novice hurdlers, wouldn't surprise me at all if he wasn't to run at Cheltenham this year. He's an interesting one, but not for me. Instead, I'd take a chance, and it is taking a chance at that, on Fighter Allen for Paul Townend and Willie Mullins. He's 5-1. It's an each-way play, and I know it's a very conservative each-way play at that, so don't grill me too much. But look, this horse won his maiden hurdle on his first start for Willie Mullins. The first horse Willie Mullins has had with Chris Jones, a fairly reputable Irish trainer at that, or Irish owner at that. And he won quite nicely from Lifetime Ambition. Showed a little bit of fatigue near the end of his race. I think he just was in need of the run that day, so I think that race could have been upgraded. But he ran an absolute stinker last time out behind Ashdale Bob. Him and Holy Macapony both stopped to a walk almost within around 5 yards of each other on the turn in at Navan. Very strange. The two of them, though, you couldn't rate both of them on those two performances. I think Holy Macapony's a pretty good horse. Hopefully will be seen in the Nathaniel Lacey race at the Dublin Racing Festival. And Fighter Allen here is running in this race. It's interesting, as I say, Monkfish won the race last year for Willie Mullins. He usually targets it with a decent enough prospect, and it just wouldn't surprise me if Fighter Allen was to put that race beyond him. And if he'd come here just off the back of his maiden hurdle win, I think he'd be favoured. So it is one you have to bear in mind. That's the angle I'm playing. 5-1 I think might be a point or two too big. The 3:30, the maiden hurdle. I'm going to take on Euro TF of Willie Mullins's. Decent horse, no getting no getting away from that, I suppose, but he just seems to have a little bit of seconditis in him, personally. I know he has won a race, but he came second in his other 3 bumpers. I think also his second behind Hollow Games last time out at Leopardstown flattered him. Gordons weren't running very well over Christmas. Hollow Games is a big burly sort, will be seen to best effect over bigger and longer trips down the line. I remember Euro TF. I remember backing him at Fairyhouse on his second run last year, and he disappointed. Well, he didn't disappoint. He came second, but he got beaten by a no meat horse that hasn't turned into anything since. So it's just something that's always at the back of my mind, and I wouldn't be taking odds on about a horse that may always find one too good. Instead, I'm going to take a chance on Vintage Prosecco for Gavin Cromwell and Johnny Moore. I was very, very disappointed to see this horse not get the job done on hurdling debut last time out when being beaten by Feel Good Island and Liz Doyle's. Feel Good Island's a decent enough yardstick, no world beater. But previous to that, won a bumper down at Limerick, I think it was, pretty impressively by 5 lengths with Patrick Mullins on board. And previous to that, had finished third behind Sir Gerhard in a down Royal bumper that has worked out really well. In terms of overall bumper figures this year, probably the best form on offer in terms of your standard bumper, that one at Down Royal at the start of the season. Comes here 7-4. I'm just going to take a chance that the horse will have learned from that hurdling experience, maybe a little bit more streetwise this time round, and hopefully can go and do the job. The 4 o'clock, I'm going to be heading over to Martin Hassett, a trainer I love a lot. He's obviously had a few decent horses in his care earlier in their careers. The likes of the Conditional went on to win the Ultima for David Bridgewater. He was trained by Martin Hassett as a young horse, and I really like No Grey Areas. He was a bumper horse I liked a lot. He was a horse that couldn't seem to string 2 good performances together as a bumper horse. He was good some days, he was useless other days, but he was only touched off in second in a couple of bumpers, and then has won his last 2 starts over hurdles with Pa King on board. Pa King has ridden him with extreme confidence, and he won for us over at Limerick on the 29th, I believe it was, when balls a steel ride up the inside at Limerick to beat Blanket on the ground, who he reopposes here. He's gone up £7 in the weight, but I still think there might be another win in this horse. He's 5-1. I'll leave that up to you whether you want to back him win only. He is an each way price in terms of a fifth of the odds would get you your full stake back at 5-1. So it's one of those. I probably will play him each way just because I've had a poor enough day today. I'm probably going to be a bit more conservative myself at Thurles tomorrow, but I'll leave that up to you. He is obviously at a backable price from a win perspective, but not the worst each way play as well. And the 4.30, a complete anomaly of a price here with Churchstonewarrior for the Sweeneys. Richie Barron takes the ride. He's 7-1 with Bet365. I know not everyone can sometimes get on the early prices with Bet365, but if you can, do go and do so. I think he's 5-6-1 with a few of the other bookies, and as short as 4-1 with Paddy Power. I think he is around 5-6-1 with William Hill, though, which is more reputable, I suppose, than Bet365 in terms of taking a bet the night before. But Churchstonewarrior, 7-1, if you can get on, I would advise that. I think this horse has got a very good each-way chance. Sixth in a decent bumper behind Ever Present on debut for this yard, when the likes of Magic Tricks, was fourth. I'm getting Hollow Games and Magic Tricks mixed up there. He was back and forth. He's won since. The third was another Gordon Elliott horse called Joseph Conrad, who's won a maiden hurdle since. So it was a decent enough performance. And then was third on his in a maiden hurdle behind Born Patriot and All About Joe, beating a half length over 2.5 miles, or 2 mile 5, I believe it was, at Punchestown. Dropping back down to 2 mile 3 in a bumper. Might see this horse the best effect. I know there's a few in there. There's an Emmett Mullins horse in there, but I thought he was basically a little bit disappointing given the market expectations on debut. And Gordon Elliott's horse, he does have form tied in with Vintage Prosecco, so you might be wondering why I'm not backing the Gordon Elliott horse. I just think he might find another one too good. And I'm just hoping that Churchstonewarrior, it's more of a value thing. I think at 7-1, it's just a crazy price. I thought he was really a 4 or 5-1 chance. And 7-1 gives you a decent enough alternative each way to the two at the top of the betting, as it is going to be a 3-place race. I'd be very shocked if he couldn't hit the frame. Anyway, a slightly shorter video today covering Thurles' racing tomorrow. As I said at the start of the video, very sorry for the selections today. They just weren't up to par. These things can happen. Take it on the chin and hopefully back a couple of winners tomorrow. Some okay prices in there. A few probably scummy enough each way bets. A few at shorter prices. Hopefully we back a couple of winners in the process and can have a profitable day. Of course, if you do have any selections yourself for Thurles' racing tomorrow, do let us know down below in the comments. Let us all know, and hopefully you did enjoy the video. If you did, do give it a like and subscribe to the channel as well. It gives me it's brilliant if you do so, to be honest. It really helps me, and I really do appreciate everyone that goes and does so. And until next time, where early next week I'll be doing a Cheltenham handicap preview video, just a little look through at the handicap, seeing whether there's anything that's tickling my fancy before we get into the Dublin Racing Festival. Until then, stay safe, stay well, land a few bets tomorrow. Hopefully Thurles goes ahead, and I'll see you guys then. Cheers.